So I'll start off by analysing Scott McTominay's opening goal against Chelsea, before I talk more broadly about why he excels in that space between the lines. And towards the end I'll show you how good a finisher McTominay actually is from a statistical point of view. But before I get into that, if you like me preferred the retro jerseys to the new season ones, then head over to Jersey FIFA. They've got a vast collection of retro jerseys from all over the continent and the world, with a lot of international jerseys available as well. A link will be in my Instagram bio and you can find that linked in the description, and if you use code Atlantis at checkout you'll also get a discount as well. But in this game in particular, McTominay certainly made the difference. Here we see Antony with one of multiple poor passes in the final third. This time it's with very little conviction in the actual pass, which allows Enzo Fernandez to intercept, and it's only because Nicholas Jackson has half a brain that Chelsea aren't able to successfully launch the counter. But anyway, as Amrabat recovers possession, you can clearly see that United have the overload on the left. And credit to Amrabat, he doesn't hesitate to shift the ball out there instantly, and now you can see that Bruno Fernandes is in a fantastic position, with the clear open option of Garnacho on the left for him to just reverse a pass into. But you can also see that McTominay has managed to take up an unmarked position on the edge of the box, which is created from him starting deep and then pushing up high in behind the opposition's midfield, but crucially not making the run onto the shoulder of the backline too early, instead holding this sort of position withdrawn, which in this game gave him numerous unmarked runs into the box. And as Bruno Fernandes reverses the pass into Garnacho, you can see that McTominay is in a fantastic position for the cutback, with Cucurella being occupied by Højlund and Levi Colwill being dragged away at the back post by Antony. The cross initially goes to Maguire, but when it bounces back to McTominay, his first touch to tee up the volley is phenomenal, and to finish off, the technique of the left-footed volley into the bottom corner is equally as technically proficient. And I think this elusive nature around the box that McTominay has stems from his arrival from deep, and so he's definitely more of a second striker or an advanced midfielder rather than an out and out centre forward. And to be honest, we did see McTominay thriving in this more advanced area. Here we see as Garnacho has the ball on the left and McTominay is positioned not just in behind Enzo Fernandez but also just slightly wide of him as well, in what is known as a half space, with Sophie and Amrabat sitting in front of Enzo Fernandez. As Garnacho, Shaw and Bruno Fernandes exchange some quick fire passes on the left side to play out of trouble, you can now see that Garnacho has the option to slide the ball into McTominay, who is way ahead of Enzo Fernandez but also has a space in front of him to drive forward with the ball and force Levi Colwill at left back to commit. Garnacho instead drives into the space himself and opts for the second best option in my opinion, which is to release Bruno Fernandes down the left in behind Cucurella. And now you can see once again that McTominay almost has a free unchallenged run into the box, with Højlund pulling away Thiago Silva and Antony doing the same to Levi Colwill. And even here you can see he's in the Frank Lampard position awaiting the cutback, with both defenders in front being dragged towards goal, vacating that space for McTominay to stride into like an 800-metre runner. But once again the delivery isn't there, but when the ball gets reworked back to Bruno Fernandes after Chelsea recover defensively, you can see that McTominay hasn't just held that high position on the shoulder of the defensive line. He's once again dropped off into that space between Chelsea's midfield and defensive lines, which means that when Bruno Fernandes gets into this position where he can float a curling cross towards goal, McTominay is able to arrive late, creating a 3v2 situation at the back post and being the spare unmarked player, moving directly between Colwill and Silva, but this time he isn't able to get the direction on the header that he needs, heading the ball straight at Robert Sanchez. And although it is a chance that he'll feel he should be scoring, and I would agree, his movement and position in the initial phase of play and then to actually create the chance shows that McTominay isn't just a fluke, and that he does have the football IQ to time his movements perfectly when arriving late into the box, which is a trait that Frank Lampard developed to devastating levels, and I could see McTominay doing the same. Maybe not to the exact same levels, but he's already got 5 goals in 12 Premier League games, where he hasn't been a starter for all, as well as 1 goal in 4 of his Champions League games. He's already at 5 in the Premier League and so should be aiming for double figures, and hopefully 15 at least in all competitions. However, if anything, those stats that I've just given you make McTominay look less capable than he actually is, if we adjust these goal scoring metrics to per 90. But before I get into that, just a quick reminder that if you do want to see some of my non-Manchester United and retro football content, then click the link in the description and check out my Patreon, where I do have an unreleased Højlund video featuring the likes of Shevchenko, Adriano and Fernando Torres. It's around 7 minutes long, so that's on my Patreon. And I am also releasing some short podcast episodes as well, and just plain football highlights over the top, because obviously I don't have to worry about the copyright there. You can also get a 7-day free trial, so I'll leave it linked in the description. And thank you in advance for helping to support the channel. So here we see Scott McTominay's FB ref report, and it pretty much speaks for itself. When compared against every other midfielder in Europe's top 5 leagues, in all competitions over the past 365 days, in the just over 1,600 minutes that McTominay has played, he ranks in the top 1% for both his non-penalty goals and his non-penalty XG, which he overperforms by 0.07 per 90, showing that McTominay is legitimately, or should I say statistically, one of the best goal-scorer midfielders in all of Europe, excelling at creating the opportunity through his timing and his movement, but also his ball control and striking technique truly looks elite at this point as well. And who knows, maybe McTominay could develop into the sort of player for Ten Hag that Ilkay Gundogan was for Pep Guardiola. In future videos I am going to look at McTominay's role in other phases of play, as well as looking at who United should eventually bring in as an upgrade for McTominay if he does end up getting sold in the summer. So make sure you subscribe to the channel and click the bell for notifications when that video comes out, and check out my Patreon and some of my other videos as well, which will be linked in the description.